Good evening. I come to you not as a theorist, not as a compiler of quotations or a merchant of formulas, but as one who has spent years, decades in the practice of spiritual healing day after day, often beginning before the sun has given its first light. There has been but one occupation: to behold God as the life of individual being and to witness what follows. And so tonight I would ask you to rest from curiosity, rest from the gathering of methods, and come with me into simplicity. Our subject is healing, healing that flows from identity, not from any technique, healing that is the natural consequence of God, revealing God as the I of you and the I of me. Let us place at the center, without adornment, the axiom by which everything here operates. I and my Father are one. Not two, never two. There is not God and you. There is God, expressed individually as you and as me. This is not a fancy of mysticism, not a religious romance. It is law. When Jesus, our way-shower, declared, I and my Father are one, John 10:30, he did not propose a doctrine to debate. He unveiled the operational truth in and by which the works were done. Healing, then, is not a result we secure. It is a revelation of oneness already present. The name we give it is secondary. The reality is God appearing as wholeness, where a sense of separation once argued its case. Now, I promise you simplicity, but not the simplicity of shortcuts. Simplicity rests upon principle, understood and honored. If tonight you will release your clutch upon techniques, incantations, affirmations used as magic, mental push and pull, and if you will agree to let the presence announce itself instead of trying to announce it for it, you will find that spiritual healing is indeed a simple thing. Be still and know that I am God, Psalm 46:10. Do you hear? Be still, cease the noise, cease the personal effort, cease the attempt to persuade the infinite, and know I in the midst of me is God. In that stillness, the revelation of oneness occurs, and that revelation is the healing. Let us, for a moment, honor that instruction. For a breath or two, we will not try to make anything happen. We will not fix, and we will not reach. We will watch. We will witness what already is. Quietly, softly, inwardly. The kingdom of God is within you, not outside across a distance, not in a book to be memorized and wielded, within. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, Matthew 6:6. This is not piety, it is procedure. The closet is consciousness. Shut the door, close the faculties to sense report and fear report and memory report, and there, in secret, the one announces itself as the only I present. This is the ground of our work. You may have come with a need. You may have come with questions about body, about supply, about relationships, about the mind that seems too stirred to rest. And I speak to you kindly. Bring the need, but lay down the bargaining. Bring the question, but lay down the debate. Your wholeness does not lie at the end of a technique mastered. It lies at the beginning in the recognition that the life which is God is your life. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you, 1 Corinthians 3:16. This too is not pageantry. It is the announcement of where to look, how to listen, what to trust. If you ask me, what will we do this evening? I answer, we will discover how oneness itself produces healing. That is our core question. How does the realized fact, I and my Father are one, operate as law, appearing outwardly as corrected function, as peace in the heart, as sufficiency where there seemed lack? I will not give you a set of steps to manipulate God into action. We dare not treat God as an absentee landlord to be contacted, nor as a reluctant giver to be cajoled. The infinite does not respond to coaxing. The infinite reveals itself in quiet recognition. Spiritual healing is the fruit of beholding, not the product of pressure. There have been times when, in the very midst of a session, before a word passed these lips, the atmosphere grew light. The burden in a listener's face dissolved, and I knew without inquiry that grace had fulfilled its own law. How? Not by me, not by any thought I sent anywhere, not by any righteousness of mine. Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is, God. Mark 10:18. All good is God. We are instruments, transparencies through which the light shines when we are still enough not to obstruct it. This is why, from the outset, I ask you to exchange your faith and methods for trust in the presence. Techniques handle appearances. Inspiration beholds essence, and essence alone heals. Do not trouble yourself about your measure of faith as if faith were a currency to stack until God is impressed. The smallest glimmer of recognition God as the I of me is seed enough. The soil is your silence. The water is your devotion. The sun is the grace that forever gives of its own being. Let that be our agriculture tonight. We will sow no fear, reap no condemnation, and we will not judge by appearances. We will be content to see, to love, to know. Some of you will ask within yourselves, but can it be this simple? And I say, yes, once you are willing to live by principle. The complexity belongs to the mind that insists upon separateness. The simplicity belongs to the soul that consents to oneness. Christ in you, the hope of glory, Colossians 1:27. Not Christ somewhere else, not glory deferred until some future perfection. Christ in you here, the very life of your life. If we will let that sentence be a place to dwell rather than a phrase to admire, the evening will be fruitful. So we begin with stillness, with the axiom, with the willingness to release technique and accept identity. We begin with love unvoiced yet present, because love is the atmosphere in which truth becomes visible. We begin by agreeing that healing is not an achievement. It is a disclosure, the veil parts, not because we pull upon it, but because the light behind it has ever pressed forward to announce itself. Let the announcement be heard in you and as you tonight. Let us be very simple. Let us be very quiet, and let us ask, not pleadingly but expectantly, Father, how does your oneness appear as healing? Then we do the holiest of all acts. We wait and we know. Now let us make the absolute statement without embroidery. For if there is any cornerstone in this work, it is this: I and my Father are one. John 10:30. Not a poem, not a philosophy, law, operational law. There is not God and you. There is God expressed individually as you and as me. There is only one I, infinite and indivisible, appearing as countless forms without ever ceasing to be the one. That which you have called your life is the life of God, being itself as you. That which you have called your body is the temple of the living God. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? 1 Corinthians 3:16. This is the fact to be realized, not the creed to be defended. If you will, take the word I upon your tongue very gently and ask yourself, who is it that says I? The ego? No. The performer? No. The anxious mind that reaches and fears? No. Before Abraham was, I am, John 8:58. The I is eternal being. The I is the Father revealing itself. The I is the one self that says I in you, says I in me, says I in every holy temple of consciousness. Therefore, there are not many selves in collision. There is one self, infinitely individualized, one light refracted, one ocean waving, When you say, I say it reverently, you are pronouncing the name. I am that I am, Exodus 3:14. Only one I. What follows from this? Everything that matters. If there is only one I, then there is no second self outside of God to oppose, to threaten, to supply, to heal. There is no power other than the one. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, Deuteronomy 6:4. And Paul gathers it for us. One God and Father of all, who is above all, and through all, and in you all. Ephesians 4:6. You live and move and have your being in God. Acts 17:28. This is not piety. It is geography, the map of reality. There is no journey to reach God. There is recognition to awaken as God's own selfhood in you. Hence, healing is not the task of getting God to act upon a separate you. Healing is the dawning realization of what God as I already is, and the shadows that call themselves disease, lack, fear, estrangement have no way to stand before that light. Be still and know that I am God, Psalm 46:10. Be still. Stop the argument of two. Stop the traffic of thoughts that push cause and effect around from matter to mind and back again. No, let the truth come not as a sentence you repeat, but as a presence you consent to. I in the midst of me is God. That, I realize, is the presence that heals, not believed, realized. Belief remains out here debating other beliefs. Realization stands within as what is, and what is needs no defense. You may say, but my body, what of my body? And I answer, your body is the temple of the living God, not a warehouse for fear, not a bulletin board for medical pronouncements or metaphysical slogans. When the I of you is recognized as divine life, the temple is known to be sacred, not because of its structure, but because of its occupancy. The one indwells, the one maintains its own expression, the one is health. Do not attempt to coax the body into holiness. Acknowledge holiness as the life within the body, and the body appears in accord with the one that inhabits it. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. John 14:10. You see, even the Master refused the burden of being a separate operator. He did not perform. He witnessed the one perform itself. Now, this oneness must move from syllables to state. It must become the atmosphere of your awareness. It must be so present that you cannot be talked into a second power, a second cause, a second self to battle or to please. When, in an hour of trouble, you turn within and consent silently to the I that is God, you will find fear beginning to slacken. Why? Because fear feeds on Oneness, on the imagination of a vulnerable you and a distant God. When Oneness is dissolved, the very root of fear is cut. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Isaiah 41:10. Not with thee as a companion on the road, but with thee as the life of thy life, the mind of thy mind, the substance of thy very being. In that awareness, the air changes. The breath moves freely. The mind yields its frantic postures. Grace has room to be itself. Let me say it plainly. Oneness realized is the only curative here. Without realization, you have only belief, and belief is unstable because it rests upon the believer. Realization rests upon God being God. When the inner ear hears, I and my Father are one, and does not translate it to I and a greater power are on good terms, but allows it to mean exactly what it says, one, then there is a cessation of bargaining, a cessation of ritual, and an entering of the secret place. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. Matthew 6:6. In secret, The One announces itself as your very I. Openly, the forms of your life reflect the peace of that announcement. I ask you now to try nothing. Simply let this be true in you. Let the sentence, I and my Father are one, be more than words. Let it be a place. Sit down inside that place as you would sit within a home you trust. Let its walls be your safety. Let its hearth be your warmth. As you rest there, do not look out the window at appearances demanding commentary. Look at the I, which is invisible, yet present, silent, yet communicating, still, yet all activity. You will discover that as the One is realized as the only I, the sense of separation that held grievances, comparisons, and personal accomplishments begins to melt, and with it, the obstacles to grace melt. Love flows without selection. Judgment loses its audience. The instruments, the mind, the heart, the body become transparent, and when they are transparent, the light performs its own will. Keep this in your heart. It is not your realization that heals, as if you had gathered spiritual credit. It is the realization of the One realizing itself as you. Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one. That is God. Mark 10:18. I am merely the window. The sun is the healer. Yet the window must be clean enough to let the sun through. Oneness cleans. Oneness clarifies. Oneness stands where two once argued and says, I alone am. And in that sacred monosyllable one I, there is health, sufficiency, harmony, not because they are acquired, but because they are the nature of the One revealing itself. Be still, and know I in the midst of me is God, and quietly watch what follows. Now, having sat inside the place of oneness, let me say to you very emphatically and with love, spiritual healing cannot operate through any rote ritual. It comes purely through inspiration. When ye pray, use not vain repetitions as the heathen do, for they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking, for your Father knoweth what things ye have need of, before ye ask him. Matthew 6-7-8. You hear? Vain repetitions, much speaking, techniques and devices that seek to move God to do something. That is Oneness masquerading as devotion. It is the mind bargaining with an imagined outside deity. And I tell you plainly, never pray to God that God heal anyone. There is no God outside to be persuaded, cajoled, or informed. There is God as I, the one life, the one mind, the one love, revealing itself as individual being. Prayer that begins anywhere else wanders in a circle and returns tired. We must, therefore, end ritual, incantation, and mental manipulation, not because they are wicked, but because they are useless in this work. Understand the difference, please, between inspiration and incantation. Inspiration is recognition, the sudden or gentle dawning that I in the midst of me is God, that the Father within doeth the works. In that recognition you rest, you behold, you admit what is. Incantation is leverage. It is the use of statements as magic wands to cause effects. The words may be identical, but the operator is different. In inspiration, there is no operator. The I is the only I. In incantation, a self tries to wield truth as a tool, but truth is not a tool. Truth is being. It is the spirit that quickeneth. The flesh profiteth nothing. John 6-63. Spirit is not compelled by formulas. It reveals itself when there is no compulsion left. Some of you have been well schooled in treatments, phrases arranged, schedules set, affirmations repeated morning, noon, and night. Others have learned to visualize with willpower, to picture organs glowing, bank accounts filling, enemies repenting, circumstances rearranging like a stage set, and many have been taught to trace symptoms back through catalogs of psychosomatic causes, fear of this, resentment of that, trauma of the other, thinking that if only the right psychological label is found and corrected, spirit will then be free to work. I do not scold. I have traveled through rooms where those furnishings stood. But hear me, all those approaches keep consciousness intent upon appearances. They rearrange the furniture in the dream instead of waking the dreamer. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. John 7:24. Righteous judgment looks past the list, past the picture, past the moral self-improvement, and rests in identity. Only one eye. The carnal mind, Paul's name for the universal belief in separation, always seeks a handle, a device, something to do to someone or something. It loves methods because methods keep it in control. Yet, the carnal mind is enmity against God. Romans 8-7. You cannot hire it to bring forth spirit. You cannot hypnotize yourself into heaven, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Zechariah 4-6. Willpower may produce a temporary picture. Suggestion may settle a symptom for a season, but what is born of flesh is flesh, and only what is born of spirit is spirit. John 3-6. Spiritual healing is spirit revealing itself as the only life present. When that occurs, appearances adjust without your supervision. Do you see now why petitionary bargaining is forbidden in this work? When you go outside yourself, fashion a God to be moved by argument, and then plead your case however piously you certify to oneness, you say by your practice, God and I are two, and we must negotiate. The master canceled that mode in a sentence. Your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask him, Matthew 6-8. He canceled it again by command, take no thought for your life, Matthew 6:25. Take no thought does not mean be careless. It means do not attempt to create effects by mental manipulation. It means enter the silence where being announces itself. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. Matthew 6-6. Closet, not clinic of techniques. Secret, not publicity of performance. Rewarded openly by the naturalness with which harmony appears when God is God in you. Now I speak gently but directly. Lay down the habit of treatments as if they were incantations. Lay down the fascination with cause lists and with the forensic analysis of humanhood. Lay down especially the urge to think hard, to see hard, to force hard. This urge is impersonal. It belongs to the dream of separation and not to you. Do not condemn yourself for having used such things. Hear the kindness of the Christ. Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. John 8:11. If the word sin disturbs you, translate it, miss the mark no more. You have aimed at the appearance, now aim at the essence. You have aimed at improved humanhood, now aim at realized identity. Forgive the former, bless it for having brought you as far as it could, and step into the new with gratitude. How, then, shall we proceed? Always by inner communion, always by silence first. Be still and surrender the operator. Let a breath come that is not forced. Let the heart loosen its grip. Let the sentence, I and my Father are one, arise not as a tool but as a truth, and then do not use it. Let it use you. If a word comes of its own accord, receive it. If no word comes, abide. In that abiding love begins to wash the slate clean, for love is the fulfilling of the law. Resentment relaxes, blame departs, Fear is seen for the shadow it is. When the instrument is clear, grace functions without impediment. There is nothing left to do but witness. You may find in such an hour that the body responds, that a relationship softens, that supply appears where arithmetic said there was none. You did not cause it. You did not twist a mechanism. Essence revealed itself. That is healing. Techniques address appearances. Only inspired recognition reveals essence, and essence heals. Therefore, let us covenant together. We will not seek God as an outside power to be employed. We will not use truth as leverage. We will no longer attend to shadows as if they were substance. We will turn within to the one, wait upon the Spirit, and consent to be nothing that the I may be everything. And in that holy consent, the Father which seeth in secret rewards openly, not because we have earned a response, but because God being God is the law of this universe and of you. Be very quiet with this, and let the peace of it convince you far beyond any argument. Enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, Matthew 6:6. Let us take that not as embroidery, but as instruction, precise, workable instruction. The closet is consciousness. The door is attention. To enter the closet is to turn inward. To shut the door is to close the faculties to the reports of sense, memory, fear, and the clamoring of outcomes. In that secret, the one announces itself. This is not dramatics. This is the way. How then do we enter? Gently, practically. Sit if you can. Stand if you must. Rest your hands without pose or pretense. Let the world's noise be the world's noise. It is not your assignment to still it. Your work is to let the inner sea quiet. So we begin by releasing request. We begin by releasing outcome. We do not go in to get anything. We go in to be with God as the I of our own being. Be still and know. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Do you hear the order? Be still first, know second, not the other way around. Knowledge born of effort is concept. Knowledge born of stillness is realization. As you take your seat in the secret place, you may find the mind still wanting to bargain. It presents its lists, the body, the debt, the child, the meeting tomorrow morning. It is all right. You are not to fight these. You are to shut the door. How? By ceasing to be an audience. Let the thought pass as a stranger on the road. Neither invite it in nor push it away. A simple inward willingness helps. Father, thy will is my will. I am here to behold. If a sentence like that rises of its own accord, receive it. If no sentence rises, do not manufacture one. No words are necessary. If words come, they are few, tender, inspired. The Spirit itself maketh intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered, Romans 8:26. Let the Spirit pray its own prayer as you wordlessly, often in such a moment, there is a sign so small you might miss it. A breath you did not take, but that took you. A warmth over the heart, a sense of space in the head, a soft loosening somewhere you did not know was clenched. These are secondary. Notice them and bless them, but let them pass. The presence is the point. Never begin to chase sensations as if they were God. They are weather. God is climate. They are ripples. God is ocean. If they arise, do not become fascinated. If they do not arise, do not become discouraged. Your only function is consent. Your only position is receptivity. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Isaiah 30:15. You may ask, how long? As long as grace holds you. As short as a clear breath. 2 minutes of honest stillness outweigh 20 of mental effort. Do not measure prayer by the clock. Measure it by yieldedness. When you feel yourself begin to reach, to arrange, to compel, you have stepped out of the closet into the marketplace. Gently return. Close the door again. It can happen in an instant. Here I am, Father. I and my Father are one, not two, negotiating terms. I, in the midst of me, is God. Sit there, even if only for a sip of that awareness. That sip is living water. Sometimes the mind will stumble upon an old phrase and want to use it as a lever. Do not let it. Let any phrase be a key that opens to silence, not a hammer that beats on heaven's door. Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. 1 Samuel 3-9. Better one listening than 1,000 speeches. When the listening becomes deep, a wordless leaning of the heart toward its source, you will know. How will you know? Peace. Not a dramatic climax, not a vision to publish, but a quiet something that says, it is well. It is well, though nothing outward has yet adjusted. It is well because being has announced itself as the center. The peace of God which passeth all understanding shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Philippians 4-7. Peace is the sentinel at the door of realization. In that peace, what happens? Nothing you do. Everything God is. The Father within doeth the works. The atmosphere changes first in you, then without your supervision as your affairs. You will find that judgment relaxes its grip. You will find that some face you could not bear to remember becomes translucent. You will find that the very body, unargued with, begins to respond to the fact of indwelling holiness. It is not your thought improving matter. It is the revelation of identity dissolving shadows. The climate heals. The climate supplies. The climate harmonizes. Why? Because the climate is God realized as let me make the pathway plain. Always begin by entering the closet, consciously withdrawing attention from appearances. Shut the door, refuse audience to fear, to memory, to expectancy. Drop requests and outcomes. God is not a storehouse. God is your life. Become receptive. Let the initiative be the Spirit's. Listen, if words come, let them be few and tender. If no words come, abide. Attend lightly to any secondary signs. Bless them and let them pass. Stay not by time, but by consent. 2 minutes sufficed may be holier than an hour of wrestling. And when peace arrives as a quiet witness, do not rush outward to test it. Dwell a moment longer, that the root may take. Do not confound secrecy with secrecy of place alone. You may enter the closet on a train, in a kitchen, between the sentences of a difficult conversation. The door shuts wherever attention is turned from effect to cause, from many to one. The Father which seeth in secret rewards openly, not by rare miracle, but by law. The reward is not first in the body or the bank book. The reward is assurance. Assurance that the one is the only I. Assurance that the ground under your feet is God. Assurance that love is the actual substance of this universe and of you. And once assurance has been felt, the forms will, in their season, echo that inner certainty. Take this now, not as theory, but as practice. Right where you are, become very still. Let the breath that wants to come be the breath that comes. Without effort, let one simple sentence move through you and then dissolve. I and my Father are one. Then listen. Perhaps nothing will be heard, and yet you will know. You will know because quiet has weight. You will know because pressure has lifted. You will know because a tenderness, not yours, is here. Call it the Christ, Christ in you, the hope of glory. Colossians 1:27. Call it the Father within. Call it simply I. It is this. I realize that is the open door of healing. Stand at that door, not clamoring, but consenting, and let God be God in you. Now, In that quiet, let another law be spoken plainly, for it is not ornament but ordinance. Love is the fulfilling of the law, Romans 13:10. Not one of the fulfillments, the fulfilling. When the Master laid out the way of prayer, he joined silence to love as inseparable requirements. When ye stand praying, forgive, if ye have aught against any, Mark 11-25. And again, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother hath aught against thee, first be reconciled to thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift. Matthew 5:23-24. Do you see the order? Not prayer first, then love if it is convenient, love first, then prayer that reaches the center. Without love, the words may be high, the doctrine pure, the technique refined, yet the prayer circles the outer court and never enters the Holy of Holies. Love is the key that opens the inner door. I say this to you very emphatically. Never attempt healing work from within a heart that is still feeding upon grievance. Do not fear the frankness of that. It is mercy. Resentment is the felt evidence of Oneness. It asserts there is me and there is another capable of withholding my good or inflicting my hurt. That is the carnal mind's gospel, and it has no fellowship with the Spirit. Love dissolves Oneness. Love restores oneness to conscious awareness. When love is present, prayer is not a plea sent out. Prayer is God recognizing God within the temple. That recognition heals. What then is this love? Not sentiment, not indulgence, not a moral pat on the head of wrongdoing. Love is the recognition of identity. The same life that says I in me says I in you. Love is forgiveness in action. Listen to the Master on the cross. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Luke 23:34. That is not a human heroism. That is the Christ seeing through the mask of ignorance to the reality untouched by it. In our terms, it is the impersonalization of both sin and sinner. The act is impersonal error. The doer, in truth, is the image of God. Hold to that, and you are loving. Hold to the act as the identity of the doer, and you are judging by appearances. Let us practice here and now, not by recitation, but by release. In my heart, at this instant, I release every individual from criticism, judgment, and condemnation. I name no exceptions. If there rises a face that stings, that is the very one I release into the freedom of Christ. Neither do I condemn thee, no, not you, not me, and include your own name. In my heart, at this instant, I forgive you, and I forgive me. No double standard. The same grace that frees your brother frees you, or else it is not grace. For if ye forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you, Matthew 6:14. This is not a bargain with heaven. It is a statement of law. The door you shut on another, you shut on yourself. The door you open to another opens in you. You may ask, does such forgiveness excuse behavior? No. Forgiveness does not alter consequences on the human plane. It alters consciousness. It removes the grit from the channel so that the river of spirit can run clear. It returns you to the seeing that heals. In that seeing, wisdom may require you to set boundaries, to speak truth in love, to walk away from harmful patterns. Do so without venom, without inner narratives that keep the wound open. Let love do the sowing. Let love do the cleansing. The spirit within knows how to order steps when the heart is clean. If you find the mind insisting, but I cannot, answer kindly. You cannot while you stand as a private self. Shift your place. Be still and remember. Only one eye. From that eye, forgiveness is natural because there is none outside to forgive. What you are releasing is not a person. You are releasing your own belief in Oneness, your own clutching at offense, your own idol of a second power. And as that idol falls, you will feel a loosening in the chest, a wider sky in the mind, a softening in the very flesh. The prayer has reached center. Grace has room. Now take this as your order of practice. Always begin in silence. Then before a word is spoken heavenward, search the heart, not forensic searching, but a simple willingness. Father, is there any man, woman, child, institution, memory, whom I have not released? If a name rises, bless it and let it go. If your own name rises, bless it and let it go. Do not argue. Do not retell. Say within, neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. Then return to the closet and be still. In that stillness, love has fulfilled the law, and law now fulfills itself as harmony. This is why healings so often appear the moment love enters. Resentment binds the sense of separation. Love restores oneness to conscious awareness. When oneness is known, the body hears a new language, the affairs respond to a new climate. You did not make it happen. Love, being law, operated as soon as the obstruction was removed. Therefore, let your constant inner refrain be simple and exact. No criticism, no judgment, no condemnation. I set this world free. I set myself free. Love is the fulfilling of the law, and in love's quiet legality, prayer becomes presence, and presence heals. From this stillness, listen, why callest thou me good? None is good, save one. That is God, Luke 18:19. The master would not accept personal credit because he would not accept a personal self. That is the secret. The moment we accept a personal self, we accept a personal operator, and with it, the strain, the fear, the burden of results. The moment we return to the Christ way, the Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. John 14:10. The weight lifts. I say this to you, not as doctrine, but as fact learned in long practice. Whenever the sense of I am doing fades, grace does. Whenever the sense of I must produce dissolves, the Father within produces. This is why identity declarations are vital, not as magic wands, but as doors through which the personal sense exits and God alone remains as I. Now be careful how you hear these words. When I say, I am spirit, I am life eternal, I am the bread of life, John 6:35. I am not adorning a human being with spiritual titles. I am not puffing up an ego with sacred phrases. The I in these sentences is not a private person at all. It is the infinite individualized. It is the one I announcing itself right here as you, as me. Let the mind be corrected on this point, or else the whole structure leans wrong. If you attempt to use these statements as incantations to empower a human, you re-enter the marketplace with a spiritual accent. If, however, you let these statements be recognition, acknowledgement of what is eternally true, then the operator retires and the one acts as the only I present. I can of mine own self do nothing, John 5:30, is not a confession of impotence. It is the gateway to omnipotence, expressing itself as you. Let us make it practical. The telephone rings. A voice reports pain, fear, confusion. Do not hurry to speak. Do not assemble phrases like an attorney. First, turn within and let identity set the climate. Silently, gently, I do nothing of myself. The Father within me doeth the works. Only one I is here. The I of me is God. The I of this brother is the same one. There are not two I's negotiating conditions. There is one I revealing. Itself is harmony. It may take 3 seconds. It may take 30. But until this shift occurs, You are a well-meaning person trying to help another person, and that is oneness. It is God which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure. Philippians 2:13. Consent to that. Let the will and the doing be God in you. Then, if words are given, let them be identity, words recognitions, not requests. I am spirit. I am life eternal. Christ in you, the hope of glory. Colossians 1:27. All that the Father hath is mine. Luke 15:31. Hear them rightly. The I speaking is God as you. The you addressed is God as that one. No operator is present. No healer is straining. No patient is pleading. Only the one is declaring itself. And in that atmosphere, fear softens, pressure dissolves, and inspiration finds no obstacle. If no words are given, abide in the silent fact. I and my Father are one. That alone is healing climate. At times the human sense will whisper, what if nothing happens? Answer it with righteous judgment. Nothing is required to happen. Being already is. Our function is not to engineer outcomes, it is to unveil essence. The sign that identity has taken its place will be unmistakable even before any outward change. Relief from pressure, a quiet that arrives without argument, a tenderness not manufactured. That peace is the herald. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, John 14:27. Out of that peace, if there is a word to speak, it will be given. If there is a silence to keep, it will keep you. You may object. But aren't these still affirmations? In form, yes. In function, no. Affirmations used by an operator are attempts to cause. Identity recognitions are admissions of what eternally is. One tries to persuade, the other consents to presence. One works with thought to move effect, the other rests in spirit as cause. The difference is night and day, and the fruit testifies. Under the operator, there is effort, fatigue, pride, if a change appears, guilt if it does not. Under identity, there is humility, ease, gratitude without self-reference. I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. Galatians 2:20. That is the tone. Not I, but Christ. Not I, but I. Therefore, take this as your operational stance in every call for help, every moment of temptation, every instant of fear. First, pause. Second, yield the operator, consciously know, I can of mine own self do nothing. Third, let identity declare itself, only one I. I am spirit. I am the bread of life. The Father within is the doer. Fourth, wait a breath in that recognition that the climate settle. Fifth, respond only as inspiration moves, word or silence. Practice this in small things before you answer a letter, before you enter a room, before you rise from bed. Identity first, action second. You will find that decisions untangle, that conversations soften, that even the body, relieved of the tyranny of a managing mind, begins to echo the harmony of its true source. Make no hero of a practitioner and no victim of a patient. Make God the only I. Judge not by appearance, whether of sickness or of sanctity, but judge righteous judgment, see through to the Christ identity already present. Then the sentence, why callest thou me good, becomes your shield against praise and your rest against pressure. You have nothing to defend, nothing to prove, nothing to perform. The Father within doeth the works. Identity knowing removes the operator and lets the I be the only I present. In that holy simplicity, healing is as natural as light dispersing shadow, and it is God alone who is seen and glorified. Beloved, having let the operator retire and the one take its place, let us now speak of sight, of how we look, For as long as you and I look at persons as the source either of our good or of our evil, we are trapped in the marketplace of appearances. Hear the Master. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. John 7:24. That is not poetry. It is procedure. Righteous judgment is the act of looking through, not at. It is the refusal to personalize either virtue or vice. It is the recognition that all good is God being God through willing instruments, and all evil is the impersonal activity of the carnal mind, no person, no self, no child of God. Why callest thou me good? You remember he asked? None is good save one, that is God. Luke 18:19. Apply it boldly and humbly. When praise comes, do not drink it. Pass it through. It is God that is good. I am the transparency through which his goodness appears. The moment you accept personal credit, you accept personal responsibility for maintaining what only God can maintain, and fear enters with the flattery. Keep your hands clean, keep your heart clear. Likewise, when error appears as sin, sickness, fear, lack, do not pin a name tag on it and fasten it to your brother or to your own chest. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. The carnal mind is enmity against God. Romans 8:6-7. The carnal mind, not your mind or mine. That distinction is salvation in practice. What happens when we personalize evil? Instantly, a counterforce arises. Resistance, defense, blame, shame. Prayer is blocked because you have made a second power, a second self. But the moment you impersonalize this fear, is not this man, this pain is not this woman, this failure is not this child, the atmosphere changes. The sting goes out. The face softens before your eyes. Why? Because you have removed your hand from the scale. You have ceased to accuse, and where accusation ends, grace begins its quiet work. Cast the beam out of thine own eye, said the Master, and then shalt thou see clearly, Matthew 7:5. The beam is personal judgment. Remove it, and clarity dawns. Let this be very practical. A neighbor comes in tears, bound to the tale of betrayal. Do not meet a betrayer or a victim. Meet God's image, temporarily mesmerized by the universal belief in oneness. See betrayal itself as impersonal suggestion, without law, without mandate, without source. Silently, I do not judge by appearances. I judge righteous judgment. Christ in you, the hope of glory, Colossians 1:27. Only one, I, God, is your very life. Then, as words are given, speak them without blame, without advice born of fear. You will feel the clutch of the story relax. The temperature of the room drops. That is the energetic effect, if you like that word, of depersonalization. Defenses melt, receptivity opens, presence is felt. Again, the body reports pain in your own members. Do not rush to own it. My pain, my trouble, that language is the glue of bondage. Pause. I, in the midst of me, is God. Bodies are temples. The life inhabiting this temple is whole. Pain is not person. It is the suggestion of a mind at enmity with God, which has no law, no origin, no continuity in the one. Be still and let the truth announce itself. Remember, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. John 8:32. Not your effort to force truth on sensation, but your quiet willingness to see that truth, impersonal and universal, is the only law operating here. And if an enemy rises before you, some act hard, unjust, unkind, what is righteous judgment then? It is not naive indulgence, it is not brittle piety, it is clarity touched by compassion. He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone. John 8:7. Then the Master to the accused, Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. John 8:11. There is the pattern. No condemnation of person, absolute repudiation of error. You may set a boundary. You may speak truth. You may remove yourself from harm, but do it from the clean center. No hatred, no story that makes a self out of sin. This is love as law. This is righteous judgment. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against spiritual wickedness in high places, Ephesians 6:12. Flesh and blood persons are not the battleground. Sense suggestion is. When you move the arena from persons to impersonal beliefs, you have already won half the battle, because you have withdrawn the life you were lending to the false picture. A picture, once unfunded, dissolves of itself. In healing work, I have witnessed this repeatedly. The moment the sense of someone's guilt fades, the symptom that fed on that blame withers, the climate shifts, harmony is free to appear. Not because you did a technique, but because you saw rightly. Now take this as a pattern you can remember. Always begin by reassigning credit and blame. If good shows forth, let the doxology rise. Not I, but the Father within. If evil presents itself, let the denial be exact. Not person, not self, not God's child, carnal mind, no mind. Next, look through. Say within, I will not judge by sight or sound. Christ is the identity here, my neighbor, myself, even the one who seems opposed. Then hold still long enough for peace to witness your seeing. Peace is the sign you have judged righteously. Out of that peace, if a word of correction is needed, it will be clean. If a kiss of mercy is needed, it will be sincere. If silence is holy, your silence will do the work. Do not fear that impersonal seeing will make you cold. On the contrary, it will make you tender, without sentimentality. Indifference is the posture of a self defending itself against pain. Impersonal love is the posture of God, recognizing God wherever eyes may fall. Wherefore henceforth know we no man after the flesh, 2 Corinthians 5:16. That is our vow. We know man after spirit, we know ourselves after spirit, we know even the stumbling act as no man's identity and refuse to enthrone it as a second power. In that refusal, in that gentle insistence upon the Christ already present, sight is restored. And sight, being righteous, heals. Therefore, as you go about your work, make this your inner refrain. Look through, not at. No hero, no villain, God alone. No personal pride in good, no personal shame in evil, God revealed and a lie exposed. Hold your vision steady on identity until the room lightens, until breath eases, until you feel the hush that says it is well. That hush is the Christ saying, I am here, and where I am, the works appear not by manipulation, but by the law of seeing, righteous judgment restoring our gaze to the one, the only I, forever at hand. Now let us do together what words cannot do. We will not try to heal. We will not reach for any lever, any phrase to move God or matter. We will be still and know. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Take that not as poetry but as procedure. Be still and know. Let the knowing be God's own knowing of itself at the center of you. Nothing else is required. Nothing else is permitted. We set the room within in order, and we wait upon the one who is already present as the only I of this moment. Close your eyes, if you will. Rest the forehead as if you lay it down upon an altar. Loosen the jaw. Let the tongue fall from the roof. Feel the shoulders hang as garments on a peg. Breathe, but do not manage breath. Let the body breathe itself, for even breath is the Father's life moving in his temple. Let even these instructions go the way of a leaf on a river. We are entering the closet, and we shut the door not upon the world, but upon the chatter that pretends to govern it. Enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret. Matthew 6:6. The secret place is here. The door is the quieting of self. Before a word Godward, we cleanse the instrument. If any man, woman, child, memory, institution stands before the heart with a claim, release it now. Say softly within, I release all, including myself. Neither do I condemn thee. Let the sentence widen until it includes the stubborn face, the careless voice, the old story, your own name. Neither do I condemn thee. If resistance answers, do not argue. Bless and let go. You are not excusing, you are exposing Oneness and letting it dissolve. Forgiveness is not a favor to a person. It is the removal of grit from the channel that grace may run clear. Feel the hand unclench on the inside. If a sigh comes, let it. If a tear comes, let it. If nothing at all comes, let nothing be holy. Love is the fulfilling of the law. Romans 13:10. Law is thus fulfilled. Now identity, not words to move a universe. Recognition of what eternally is. I in the midst of me is God. Only one I is here. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me, he doeth the works. John 5:30, 14:10. Let these fall as stones into a deep well. Hear them rightly. The I is not a private person putting on divinity. It is God announcing itself here as awareness, as life, as the only presence. Only one I, not I and another, not healer and patient, not me and God. One I being itself. Rest in that. If thought tries to dress it in explanation, gently say, peace, be still, and return to the fact, only one I. If a person rises to thought, one who asks your prayer, one whose name is on your desk, one whose face is in your home, do not meet a problem. Behold a temple. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? 1 Corinthians 3:16. See through, not at. Your part is not to pry at appearances, but to let righteous visions stand. Silently, lovingly say, thou art whole. Not as a command to flesh, but as witness to identity. Thou art whole because the I of you is God. Thou art whole because there is no second life to be sick, no second mind to be afraid. If another face appears, include it. If your own body presents itself, include it. Thou art whole. Let your gaze be soft, impersonal, impartial, like light itself laying down upon a field without preference. Now let be. Do not look for a sign. Do not check the pulse of the moment to see if it has obeyed. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. John 14:27. If peace comes, rest. If warmth rises in the hands or the center, rest. If breath deepens, rest. If nothing moves, rest. The silence is not absence. The silence is agency. The still small voice is not always a phrase. Often it is an atmosphere, weightless, inevitable, like dawn arriving though no one watched the horizon. Do not interfere. Any attempt to help now is an insult to the presence already here. Any effort to improve is a confession of two. Consent. Be the transparency through which God witnesses God. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. Habakkuk 2:20. The holy temple is your very being. Let the earth of thoughts fall quiet. If, in this resting, a word floats up, unannounced, a simple thank you, Father, let it rise and fall without taking possession of it. Gratitude without object, gratitude without story, is a fragrance of presence, recognizing itself. If nothing arises, let gratitude be the silence itself, a bowed heart, unarticulated, nevertheless known. Stay a little longer than comfortable, not as a discipline, but as courtesy. We are not hurrying God. We are not hurrying ourselves. Timetables belong to marketplaces. In the sanctuary, there is only now, and now is the habitation of I. Notice, if you care to, that the pressure has altered. The mental grip is not what it was. Perhaps the atmosphere in the room is softer, as if a window were opened in a house that had been closed too long. Perhaps the body sits easier in its own bones. These are signs. They are relatively unimportant. The sign that matters is the inner witness, quiet and unargued. It is well. That sentence is not description. It is law announcing itself. It is well because being is being, and no event can add to or subtract from what God is. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free, John 8-32. The knowing is here. The freedom may unfold in forms, but the knowing is the freedom. Some will say, but nothing happened. Beloved, something more than something happened. No thing stood up. The one stood forth. A minute of true identity recognition changes the climate of a life. Outward pictures rearrange themselves around a different center. Do not measure by clock or by symptom. Measure by peace. Where peace is, God is consciously known. Where God is consciously known, the works appear of themselves. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. Let that sentence shield you from the old tyranny of results. We are not result makers, we are presence knowers. And presence is the only cause. Now, without hurry, without checklists, let the eyes open as they will. Bring no seam back with you. Do not sew up the split between holy and common. The street is the sanctuary as surely as the room. The next voice you hear is God speaking in a dialect, and the next task is God extending his own order as simple duty. Say within, quietly, and without fanfare, thank you, Father. Not for anything, for being. Then move not as one who must carry a practice, but as one whom practice is carried into the obvious. I and my Father are one here in this step, at this desk, with this hand on this door. Leave the rest with the Father. Hold only to identity, lightly, tenderly, as one holds a lamp in the early dark. The light does the seeing. The light does the work. And in that light, we discover again that healing is nothing added, nothing applied. It is the revelation of God as identity, known in a live stillness that needs no technique at all. Beloved, since presence has announced itself in stillness, let us hear what that presence is as sufficiency, not promise, fact, not a hope for tomorrow, the I of now. Hear the Christ, all that the Father hath is mine. Luke 15:31. Not some, not later, not if I deserve it, all, and again, I have meat to eat that ye know not of. My meat is to do the will of him that sent me, John 4:32-34. There is a bread and a meat unknown to the marketplace and its anxieties. It is the inward sufficiency of I. When that I is consciously known, forms discover their places the way iron filings arrange around a magnet without argument. You will ask, but how shall we eat, and how shall we be clothed? The Master anticipated the question and canceled the worry at its root. Take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat, or what ye shall drink, Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. Your heavenly Father knoweth that ye have need of all these things. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Matthew 6:25-33. Take no thought does not mean become careless. It means become God-aware. It means stop planning health or supply into being with a restless mind. It means recognize presence and let the adding be God's arithmetic. Seek the kingdom, seek I in the midst of you, and the forms will take their own proper order. Bring this to the body. Healing is not fixing a substance, reworking a lump of clay to satisfy the eyes. Healing is the correction of sense. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? 1 Corinthians 3:16. The temple reveals what inhabits it. If the inhabitant is believed to be a frightened, short-supplied self, the temple will echo that picture. If the inhabitant is known as I, the Father's very life, the temple bears witness with ease. I say to you, do not try to manipulate organs and elements. Do not talk to blood and bones with incantations. Acknowledge the indwelling, and let the temple declare its occupant by harmony. Now take the lamp of this knowing into the cases that alarm us. Chronic illness presents itself, old and stubborn, wearing yesterday like a badge. Do not meet years, meet I. Time is a feature of appearance, not of being. In the quiet, say within gently, not as magic, but as recognition. I am the bread of life, John 6:35. The life that is God is the life of this temple. Only one I is here. Be still until the inner. Of course, rises an unargued assent, a nod from the center that says, it is so. Do not move before that. When it comes, movement may be as simple as standing up without dread, as natural as laughter returning to the room. Sometimes the release is instantaneous, the symptom dropping like a cloak at noon. Sometimes the forms line up over days and weeks, but the pivot is not time. The pivot is identity. Financial fear comes like a weather front, forecasting lack, painting calendars with dread. The temptation is to outline, to visualize checks, to beg God to interest himself in our rent. Never do it. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. Not, I hope not to want. I shall not want because I cannot want in I. Say that, not to get supply, but to acknowledge supply. Abide in I until. Of course, out of that assurance, action will come without strain. One phone call you had forgotten to make, one idea you had not considered, one expense that untangles, one opportunity that was there all along, or nothing to do at all, but watch as fear loses its narrative and day meets day with quiet sufficiency. Needs are met as byproduct guidance, right timing, provision appearing like manna, enough for the day and to spare. Give us this day our daily bread, Matthew 6:11, is not a plea wrung from uncertainty. It is a statement of how sufficiency reveals itself this day in this now. Addiction cries out next, insisting upon many remedies, many battles to be fought, many vows to be made and broken. Hear me, the battle is Oneness, the vow is identity. The appetite that torments is not your mind, not yourself. It is the impersonal pull of the carnal mind seeking a host. Withdraw the host. I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me, Galatians 2:20. Rest in that sentence until, of course, until the sense of a separate struggler thins and the one stands forth. Then you will find the urge has no seat. Sometimes it falls away at once, as if a string were cut. Sometimes it fades as a shadow that has lost its light. In either case, it is the same presence, not many remedies. How do we practice this? Always the same way. Be still, enter the closet, Cleanse the instrument with forgiveness so the channel is clear. Then acknowledge I, all that the Father hath is mine. I have meat to eat the world knows not of. Only one I is here, the doer and the done. Wait until the of course arises. That, of course, is your green light. Move from it, and only from it. If there is a step, it will feel like being carried. If there is no step, you will feel the sufficiency of rest. Measure nothing by rush or delay. Measure by peace. Where peace is, guidance has already occurred. Do you see the pattern? Wholeness and supply are never attained. They are recognized. Recognized as the I already present, the only I. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of God. Luke 4:4. The word is the awareness of I feeding its own manifestation. When you stand there, my cup runneth over, Psalm 23:5, ceases to be a metaphor and becomes your report. And you will say with Paul, not as rhetoric, but as lived witness, my grace is sufficient for thee, 2 Corinthians 12:9. Grace unearned, impartial, unhurried moving as health where health seemed absent, as provision where accounts were loud, as sobriety where compulsion shouted, not because you have won a result, but because you have rested in identity and let the Father within do the works. Beloved, now we come to the part the world calls aftercare, but in the spirit it is simply abidance. Do not imagine that what we have touched tonight is an episode to be remembered. It is a life to be lived. Make this your gentle rule. Begin and end the day by entering the closet. No days off from inner communion. Enter into thy closet. Pray to thy Father which is in secret. Matthew 6:6. Secret. Always secret. Not because God is hidden, but because the noise must be hushed for the obvious to be obvious. In the morning, before the news, before the market of opinions opens, be still and know I in the midst of me is God. At night, before the body yields to sleep, return to the same sanctuary and leave the day there. This is not discipline for discipline's sake. It is love's courtesy to the presence that is your life. When the call to serve arises, a phone rings, a letter asks, a face speaks its need, do not step forward on zeal. Prerequisites, always the same: quiet, forgiveness, identity, knowing. First, a pause that is true silence, not a poised mind but a surrendered heart. Second, forgiveness. Let go every man, woman, institution from judgment, beginning with the one in your mirror. If thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there remembers that thy brother hath aught against thee, first be reconciled. Matthew 5:23-24. Do it within now. Neither do I condemn thee. Third, identity. Only one I is here, the Father within me. He doeth the works. John 14:10. Then you are ready. Not until then. Do not move because an hour is urgent. Move because peace has answered. Peace is the anointing. Without it, you are only another noise in a noisy world. Let me speak plainly a few holy cautions, not as reproof, but as guardrails on a narrow and joyous road. Do not be double-minded. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. James 1-8. If you find yourself wavering between I and not I, stop, return to the closet. You cannot speak identity out of both sides of the mouth and expect the fruit of one vine. Do not ritualize today's inspiration into tomorrow's method. Manna kept overnight bred worms. The Spirit is fresh bread. Take no thought to store formulae. What came unsought today, receive again unsought tomorrow. The wind bloweth where it listeth. John 3-8. Let the wind be the method. And above all, do not seek results. These signs shall follow them that believe. Mark 16:17. Follow, not chase. If you look back for signs, you have looked away from I. Keep the face toward being. Let signs mind their own business. Now, field practice. There is no place where you are not on holy ground, for the ground is you as temple. In the house, in the office, on the street, in the store where the clerk seems hurried or the line seems long, practice seeing, look through, not at, quietly, secretly, impartially. Only one I is here. I and my Father are one here. Wherefore henceforth know we no man after the flesh, 2 Corinthians 5:16. See Christ in the child noisy on the bus, in the partner who forgot, in the supervisor who raised his voice, in the neighbor who votes otherwise, not as sentiment, but as judgment, righteous judgment. You will notice, not always in their faces, but certainly in your own atmosphere, that a softness replaces the scratch. Where softness is, grace has a clear lane. When words are required, let them rise out of silence. If correction is needed, it will be clean of heat. If comfort is needed, it will be free of pity. If no word is given, your silence will be enough. And when forms of good appear, a reconciliation that surprises you, a pain that evaporates, a provision that arrives like morning, be quick to the humility that keeps channels open. Why callest thou me good? None is good, save one, that is God. Luke 18:19. Say it within. Say it aloud if praise insists upon an address. Pass the doxology through. You are the transparency. Let the light be praised. The moment you accept personal credit, you inherit fictitious debts, and fear walks in with the compliment. Keep your hands empty, and they will be ready for blessing. Do not be afraid to be simple. Little prayers, often, not petitions, remembrances. I, Father, Father, I, abide in me, and I in you, for without me ye can do nothing. John 15:4-5. This abiding is not a trance, but a posture, a way of standing within oneself with the door open. In meetings, at tables, in traffic, let a breath become an altar and place the moment upon it. Pray without ceasing, 1 Thessalonians 5:17, is not long sessions, it is continual consent. The consent that says, I choose I. I choose identity over appearance. I choose love over judgment. And when you fail, and we all notice failure in the mirror now and then, do not turn the failure into a second self. Neither do I condemn thee. Begin again. The Father is never late to his own life. Make also a quiet covenant with yourself about talk. Do not gossip the holy. Do not hurry to tell of wonders as if wonders were your credential. Your credential is peace. Your authority is love. Let your light so shine before men, Matthew 5:16, and light needs no advertisement, it shows. Let your words be few and your seeing be much. When asked, give without reserve. When not asked, sow in silence. As ye sow, so shall ye reap, Galatians 6-7. Sow identity, reap harmony. I leave you with a benediction that is law as much as blessing. Love is the fulfilling of the law, Romans 13:10. Go in love, not your private love, stretched or shrunken by mood, but love as the nature of I. Walk as instrument. Let the day find you transparent, forgiving as reflex, still at the center, quick to say within, only one I is here. Then watch not with hungry eyes, but with the restful gaze of faith, as the Father within does what the Father within always does. Be himself as health, where a symptom spoke loudly, as sufficiency where a bill seemed late, as reconciliation where a wall had been built stone by heavy stone. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you, John 14:27. Walk in that peace. Carry nothing but that peace, and wherever you stand, let oneness heal. Not because you have willed it, but because you have not stood in its way.